All right, welcome back to the Focus Podcast, and I got a very special guest, the one and only Slang Hugh.
Peace. Respect, sir. Thank you.
This is, I think this is show number 3 with you.
Is it?
Because the first one was audio.
Okay.
I came to your studio.
Yeah. That's right.
I had the little H5 recorder, so it was just audio, which was in person, which I really liked.
Yeah.
And then we went into that era that we're not going to talk about anymore. And I was like, well, I got to do something. So it was this program called Restream. So that was the other one we did online. And this was the third
I remember the first one. The second one is kind of a blur.
Yeah, that whole time.
Yeah.
I would like to forget.
I was just talking about it just the other day. It's like it never happened, but it was so effective.
Yeah.
We don't really remember it, but it was very effective on our lives.
You know what it reminds me of? Like if you were beat bad as a child, but not remembered the beating, and later in life you're like, shit, I'm not going near that thing.
Yep.
Why? Some reason.
Why am I not?
Like,
PTSD.
Yeah,
it's real.
Was it the old Eddie? It was like Eddie Murphy from Raw, I think. When he's like, the bit I think is like, I'm gonna go with my partners and like fuck around, and then he's like, then I remember the beatings. Yeah. And he's like, and he made the sound effect.
That's so true, though.
I'm good, guys. You go.
Yeah, it's so true. Like I tell people all the time that my dad probably never spanked me, maybe like in memory, maybe 3 times in life. Mm-hmm. But those 3 times,
they were memorable.
There's so many things that I didn't get into because of fear of my dad.
Yeah.
And I think, I know, nowadays they tell kids, you're not supposed to get spanked. Yeah, well, those spankings saved me from prison time. I'm sure of it.
That's the reason.
I'm sure of it. So which would you rather? The PTSD from beatings or from prison? I'll take the beatings.
Pick your poison.
Yeah, I'll take the beating sticks.
And I think that was another one of my favorite specials is Eddie Griffin when he was like, how many's had their mom hit him with the car? He's like,
okay,
just me. And he's
yes,
like, he goes, but I've never been asked twice to do the dishes. He's like, you'll never ask me to do it. Like, and I told my mom to fuck off once.
Yeah. And
it was like, you know the scene when the cop Terminator starts running after the car?
Yeah.
That was like
that.
She was like, like she was across the field in like 3 seconds, and it was just like, BAM! And I've never told her to fuck off ever in my life. Yep. Ever again. And it was,
I can tell this story. This is probably the first time I've ever told this story. I've told people, but publicly.
Yeah.
So I was in high school, probably like, I think grade 9. I think it was grade 9 or 10, somewhere in there. And I just came home from basketball practice, so I was tired.
Yeah. So
previously, for like months, maybe weeks, but in my mind, that time was months, my mom would tell me to clean up my room. And
you're a teenager.
Yeah. I'm becoming a man. I'm not listening to you. So, I wouldn't clean up my room. So she warned me, like the last warning, she's like, you don't clean this space up, I'm going to take all of your clothes out of the drawers in the closet and throw it on the floor, and then you'll have to clean it all up. Whatever, Mom.
Yeah.
You're bluffing.
Yeah.
Whatever. Come home, tired from ball practice, open my room door, it looks like Theo's room in Cosby Show. Yeah. And what the? Get my teenage rage and angst up. I'm not cleaning nothing. So my dad wasn't home at the time. That's why I call my dad the enforcer.
Yeah,
so
same here.
Finally comes home. My mom was like, you see your room? I'm like, no, I'm not cleaning it. Whatever. She's okay. Wait till your father gets home.
That should be a
song.
Yeah.
Well, it was a show. It was a cartoon back in the day. But anyway, so my dad gets home. I'm still on my tough guy shit. He comes to my room. He's like, clean it up. So I don't say anything because it's my dad.
Yeah.
But I don't clean it. And then he leaves the room and I slam the door.
Ooh. Not in his house.
Dun, 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 dun. Bro, I swear that in my mind is how I slammed the door, turned, and then turned back around, and my dad was coming at me like forearm. Hit me, I folded like a chair, and he just held me there for like a good 5 minutes. Just his hands on my shoulders, and I'm like, because I'm supposed to be strong, boy. At this point,
you don't know shit.
That was the last time I tried to be a man at my parents' house. I was a boy for this. Still am when I go.
And here you are, a nice gentleman. Much thanks to your pops.
Indeed.
We like to thank old school parents out there.
That's a fact.
That's the way I got it, man. My dad didn't like the lies.
Yeah.
That was like, you could fuck up all day left and right. But if you lied, and here I am, 15-year-old, thinking I'm fucking playing fucking court,
Yeah.
Slick,
Yep.
All the evidence is out there.
Smarter than everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And he got so frustrated. And now I think at a 45-year-old, man, I would have beat that 15-year-old too. And he's like, I'm telling you, he's like, I seen the footprints. You and your friends went in the garage. You did this when I told you not to. It's like, no, I didn't do it. It'd be like, here's the evidence. 10 eyewitnesses, video footage. Still not me. I was shaggy all the way, And I was like, no. And then just rage I saw come over him for like this, like, just overrides all senses. And he fucking headbutted me. And I'll never forget that. And you saw those cartoon stars.
Yep.
And that was like, I'll never fucking lie again like that. Yeah. And from then day on, I was like, you could always build after if you tell the truth from a lie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, then after that, I didn't care. I was just like, yeah, I did it. So what?
Anything but the headbutt, props. Anything but the headbutt.
No, and I understood, but it applied so much to my life too. It's like, if you're gonna lie, you're just gonna end up fucking yourself over.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact.
Man, I grew up in a co-op housing in Toronto, and it's like it was all single mothers pretty much, and it was like my dad was one of the few kind of dads that was intact and around, and it's like I saw that type of wildness in houses at 12 years old, and now I know some of these guys still, and you see the outcome,
right? And
it's like, man, there's a missing component.
Yeah.
Is like,
it's very important.
The missing component is a male figure and like somebody that brings fear, and and also not only that, it's just like to teach you in life.
Yes.
That you just can't go around fucking with people.
Exactly. Nowadays they criticize or say you shouldn't fear your parents, and I get that. I get the sentiment. I get the idea. That you shouldn't fear. I don't think you should be in constant fear.
No, that's
different. That's right. That's different. But I think you should have some fear of what your parents will do if you do this, or you should have some at least awareness.
Yes.
Or caution.
Awareness. Yeah.
It's not when we bring it to an adulthood. It's not any different than police.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Or your job or anything.
Or any authority.
Yeah.
Any authority. I don't walk around with, I'm scared of the police. I'm scared of the cops.
Yeah.
No, but I know I'm scared of the result if I break the law.
Yeah.
And they have to come for me. I'm scared of that part.
Yeah.
So
I interject and comment sometimes online and I just walk away. So one, have you seen I feel like there's so many videos are getting flooded, just kind of feeding the algorithm. And it was one of those like smash and grab ones of kids running, stealing stuff in the mall and running. Right. So I just wrote, stop blaming Trudeau and raise your kids with some discipline.
Sweet shit though.
Holy, I've had so many notifications, but I've had so many more people agree with me.
It's true.
There were so many likes. There was like 3,000 likes, and then there was the people that argued, of course. And it's like,
true.
And it's like, this goes across the board with everybody. Yeah. And it's like kids that have, had parents. It's not the fear of a parent. It's them setting you up for real life.
Yeah.
And so you're not a piece of shit, and you have accountability for actions, and you just can't go through life doing whatever the fuck you want.
That's just not realistic.
It's not realistic, and they're setting you up for like, if you're not told that at a young age, and you have to face it in a repercussion way, it's gonna be a lot worse.
Yeah,
like because you're gonna have somebody that's not gonna fuck with you. And maybe knock you the fuck out.
Exactly.
And you didn't know that, like, maybe I was an asshole back there.
Exactly.
You know?
That's so true. I look at my nephew all the time, and I was like, not all the time, but often I'm thinking to myself, you've never been in a real fight.
Yeah. That's what I can tell with a lot.
Face
yeah.
For saying the wrong shit, so maybe I shouldn't say that. And it's like there's a lot of people who wouldn't get punched in the face and they still say the wrong shit.
Yeah,
that's okay. That's just an asshole from birth.
Yeah,
there's nothing that's gonna change
nothing's
that
been
person.
corrected.
Yeah, it's just but most people, like Mike Tyson said, you ought to plan until you get hit.
Yeah,
and then once you get hit, that changes your perspective.
We were talking about that other day. Do you remember when Mike Tyson was on CP24 with Nathan Downer?
Yeah, I was talking about that the other day too.
I got a funny story. I shot that.
Yeah?
No, not in the thing.
Okay.
I was doing his show at the ACC that night.
Wow.
So Mike was on a tour. It was
that's right.
It was like Spike Lee made the movie.
Yeah.
So it was like him on stage talking about his life, and it had all these photos. It was pretty captivating.
It's a really good movie, actually.
And I was the camera guy in the pit with the wheels, like, and then there was another guy up above. So we're at work watching this unfold as it happens. We're like, holy fuck, man, this is old Mike. He's gonna eat this dude alive. And it's like, first of all, Nathan shouldn't have done that because it was a 2-minute like promo piece, and it was the time of Rob Ford, and they were fishing for shit for Rob Ford because he went to visit Rob.
That's right.
Which is a tradition with comedians. Comedians go and they go meet the mayor, and this was right at the height of the media frenzy with Rob, and everybody wanted to something with Rob. Yeah,
that makes sense.
So Mike was fired up, and then we're doing this show, and it's a rehearsal, right? So we're going through the beats, and I'm there, doing the camera, and I look over, and his people are over there, and I was like, how's Mike doing? I'm like, is he cool if I'm like up close to him? So then the show happens, and he's like, he pauses, and because he's doing his normal show, but he paused and he acknowledged what happened at the news thing, and he was like, that was me, that was the old me came out, and then he goes, hey, camera guy, it's okay, you can come close. And I'm like, poke out behind the lights. I'm like, okay, Mike. And I was like, a creep closer, and I was like, looking at his people, and they're like, I don't know, maybe he's okay.
is this a
and I was
trick?
like, at least the camera's in between us. I was like, you can punch that out. And then he's like, it's okay, I got it all out earlier. And he's like, I was like, okay, Mike.
Too funny.
Yeah, so that was my moment with Mike Tyson.
Hilarious.
It was cool. But that was I like how we segue into that, because that's maybe Nathan never got punched when he was a kid.
That type of,
you know what I mean?
That type of shit.
Like,
and Nathan was pretty new in that position at that time.
Yeah,
too.
and I think it was like, I think he because he was doing news.
Yes.
And he transitioned into this, like, these entertainment pieces.
Yeah.
So
no, wasn't he coming out of doing the videography type stuff?
Maybe. It was a transition.
Like I know.
Whatever.
Yeah, it was a transition.
Yeah.
Hey, he's an anchor now. So.
Yeah.
I guess it worked.
The other guy, because I started in news. That was my very first job.
Oh, okay.
I was like 21 years old, shooting news for York Region. That's when I met you, when I was living in Richmond Hill. Up that basement I had.
Where we went, which part? I remember that upstairs. I don't know if that was you or Poe that lived there.
Was that the place on Clinton?
That sounds right.
That was the house that Cal and I lived in.
Yeah.
Cal and I were living there.
Fuck, I forgot about that.
Yes, we had a few levels in that place.
Yes.
And that's when we started going to Clinton's there.
Yeah.
But just prior to that, I was in Richmond Hill before that, and that was the news. I worked news.
Okay.
So I worked like hardcore news,
Yeah.
like accidents and
Shit.
all this crap, and then I transitioned out of that.
Yeah.
That was
Stressful.
Oh, dude. For my age, too, like, I was 22. I saw, because we covered a big region. We covered York region. And we had cell phones. And this is, like, 2002. And I had a van. So I had a van and a cell phone. And they would have CB radios at the newsroom. So they would hear calls. And they'd be like, hey, can you get there? And I'd be the first on the scene sometime. Before cops or even fire truck. So I saw, like, dead body. I saw some nasty shit. And there was 1 week that was really bad, actually. I'll tell you, out of all the accidents in the year, the worst are in April. Because everybody's ready for snow. They know it's happening. You know, the bad weather comes and it's pretty normal. But when April comes, the weather's good. Everybody forgets. They drop the top. Fucking music goes up. All of a sudden, your senses are alive. You forget you're driving. You're doing and still
too happy.
The weather's still not great. You know, the roads could still be slippy. And
so that makes sense.
I've seen the most horrific accidents. So there was this one April. I showed up. There was a guy who his pickup truck hit like concrete, blew up, and he burned alive.
Oh shit.
So I showed up, first person there, and I was like, I don't even want to start rolling the video.
Shit.
I don't even want to be like this. And then a couple days later, I was doing a helicopter school in King City. Okay. And we were doing like a photo op. Like, there was this kid who was going to be police chief for the day. So we were going to go up in the helicopter. I was going to get all this B-roll with them and all this stuff. So we were doing the photo shoot first, and then we do the other stuff later. Way in the background, there's a helicopter, and it goes right to the ground. I filmed it like because it caught my eye, and I zoomed in.
Whoa.
And I just
so somebody like was training
and crashed right in front of us, and and so my instinct was, is that guy dead? Yeah. So I stopped recording. That was like the conscience in me. Right. And then I was like, oh, I gotta keep rolling. So I hit rolling again, and then I'm going to go out there, and some flying instructor came. He's like, don't come out. I was like, you know what? You're right. So that was like that thing, and like a couple other things I saw all in 1 week. And I get home. You know how music kind of triggers you into a certain emotion? I'm just listening to this song, and then it just like, I got home and my stepmom was like, how was your day? And I was just like, whoa. Yeah, like, it just all came out. She's like, you know what? She's like, maybe this work isn't cut out for you. And she's like, it's a good thing, because it's like you have a conscience, you know? Right. And I'm working with all these veterans that have been there so long, and they're so grizzled. They had like no emotion, and it was crazy. Actually, it was one day. It was like January. It was actually this time, and they always want you to go very far to get some B-roll footage and be back before you even left. You know, ridiculous timelines, right? Yeah. So I was going, and I was listening to Nas actually, and I was like, fuck this shit. And he got me fired up. Yeah, he got me fired up, and I came back and I quit, and I fucking told everybody fuck off. And it was like the most relieving moment of my life. And I walked out of that building and was like, whoa, it's a whole new world, man.
And I've done it maybe too much in my life. Yeah. But quitting a job can be very, very relieving. Yes. Like that, fuck this place feeling, and actually doing it, it can be addictive. I think that's where it comes in, that I've done it maybe too much in my life. But especially when I was younger, I didn't give a fuck. I would quit a job just...
Me too.
Like,
Oh, I left so many places hanging.
Yeah, me too.
And that's only because I was like taken advantage of. If I worked for somebody who was good to me, you got a lot out of me. Yeah, you know what I mean? I was a loyal worker, all this stuff, and I busted my ass for people. But it's like when you start seeing the lines when you're young and you see the bullshit with corporations and shit like that. There's a lot of things that happened to me when I was young that I was like, man, I would have sued the fuck out of them now.
Yeah.
But at that age, I just walked away.
Yeah.
Right? And so nowadays, it's like my whole industry's like this. It's just all cutthroat.
Yeah.
And it's like...
That makes sense.
I even brought this young guy in. He's a rapper. And I brought him into the business. And I said, listen, the biggest thing with this business is fighting for your own rates. And like... stopping people from fucking you over.
Right.
Really. That's what most of the energy is with this. And it's like, it's very easy to get in and like undercut. That's the problem. So people start you think you're making good, but it's like you're hurting yourself and you're hurting everybody else around you.
You're in the industry.
So, yeah. And that's probably the biggest problem with my industry and lots of industries too. And that's why I'm doing stuff like this, because I feel like this is the next step. Like this is the next logical step. And maybe let's switch gears to that, and I'll get your point of view on this. You smoke still, or you?
Yeah, I'll take a 2. I'll take a 1 and 2.
You want 1 and 1? 1 and 1?
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'm just getting over something, so I don't really want to pass anything on.
It's been going around. What the hell?
So my perspective is like we're like a few years behind comedians.
Okay.
So I feel like comedians 10 years ago who started podcasts, they're in their own world now.
Good point.
They don't need just for laughs anymore. They don't need Letterman.
Any of these,
all these things anymore.
Late shows and
before that was the only way for
SCTV.
that was the only way for comedians
SCTV.
to really.
I mean SNL.
Well, SCTV started.
Yeah, a lot of these guys. SNL, yeah.
But without that, that's your only window, right?
Right.
So look at them now. Comics are doing so well. You have all these comics with their own platforms. You have like all this like. They're selling tickets on the road. They're doing well. Like so many comics, like this Kill Tony and all these things.
I've never even heard of Kill Tony.
So Kill Tony is like a Tony Hinchcliffe, and he started this own thing where he bring up new comics like open micers,
Okay.
and they just roast them.
And
then they would have regulars.
Oh yeah. I have seen it. I have seen it.
But these guys are like filling up arenas now.
Doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not even doing their sets. It's just like them chilling, fucking with each other. So they have built this giant community where they're all thriving.
Yeah.
So this is how I see,
Smart.
like with indie musicians, is we do stuff like this. The technology is going to help us break away from the labels, and it's already happening.
Yeah.
Like you can already see it happening. And in my opinion, in 10 years from now, there won't be what you call a label. They'll just be looking at us.
We're pretty much there.
We're there.
Because labels exist, which is why they have all the 360s and stuff, but it's because they're not as profitable on music anymore.
Yeah.
So they had to make artists give them back into their like merch, their shows, their appearances, like every dollar you make.
Everything.
They had to get a piece of it because the music wasn't selling. Even though it still is.
It does,
they're
but
just screwing you over.
They're just fucking you over. It is selling. It's just that you're not getting your end.
Not even close to what you should.
You're not even getting.
You weren't getting it before, but you're really not getting it
Now
now.
you're just feeding other people's plates.
Yeah.
I got offered a deal from Sony / like BMG.
Okay.
Like 3 or 4 years ago, there was this guy from Montreal, this publishing thing I started working with. Mm-hmm. I gave him some money. They did okay. They got me some links and some press and some stuff like that. But I could have done that myself. Right. If I had the emails, I could have. Now I know, and I do my own press and I do my own publishing. But this guy set me up with this meeting. This guy at Sony, and it was on some little rinky dive office on Spadina. So I went in there. And this typical like record executive guy, he's got his feet on the table, and then he's like, at the time I had the 2 albums, so they wanted to own the masters, and they wanted an 8-year deal with me with Spotify. Okay. So they would put me up in like the discovery categories and all that, but they were taking 50% of my Spotify for 8 years. And then
50.
So I looked at all the stuff, and luckily my guitar guy is a lawyer. So I gave it to him, and he's like, "No, dude." He goes, "Everything that you're 50%, you're paying for."
Yeah.
He's like, "You're paying for their promotion. Like they'll pay for the Spotify promotion, but it's coming out of your 50% and all the merch." And then I looked at the list of stuff to do, and I just started checking them off myself.
Doing yourself. Yeah.
Like getting a Vivo account, like all these things that you could. It's tedious.
Yes.
But so coming out of the lockdown and in the lockdown, I learned a lot about publishing. I learned a whole lot, and Songtrust is a really good platform. They have so many seminars. So I started Trust. Okay. So I started doing these weekly seminars and just learning about publishing.
Okay.
So and I learned about all the entities where you can get paid and where you can cover yourself in everything. So just for layman's terms, like what you want to do, and this is a lot of stuff you already know too, is like when you're an artist, when you're an artist, the first thing you want to do is get registered SOCAN.
Yes.
So then you get what you're called as ISWC, which is your instrumentals.
Yeah.
That's the first thing you want. Those are the codes you want right away. Then you release your music. So you release your music on, this is what I'm going to do this time. Bandcamp is probably one of the best platforms, I think, to have.
And I've heard bad stuff about that too, but
probably is. Here's the good thing. The good thing, there's bad things about it. You can make a selection too. The bad thing about it has streaming on it that you can choose to not have that option on. So you can choose that people just buy your album off of it.
Yes.
So the good thing about Bandcamp is that it has all the high quality. It doesn't compress it like the rest of the.
Okay.
So when you send your stuff out to Spotify, it gets compressed.
Right.
So you get the actual sounding wave file on Bandcamp. So when you're booking shows and you're doing press, you want to use Bandcamp.
Okay.
Bandcamp and SoundCloud. SoundCloud has that quality too. So
right.
Whenever you're doing press and you're doing your own publishing, you want to use Bandcamp and SoundCloud because it's like a good platform. And the thing I really liked about Bandcamp is that they started this thing in the lockdown called Bandcamp Fridays. And what they do is the first Friday of the month. So you know when everybody buys your album, Apple takes like $2 or something. Yeah. They waive this fee. So if your album's $15, you get the full 15.
Okay.
So they started doing this in the lockdown, and they still honor it. So that's, to me, that really set them apart from everybody else.
That's a big deal.
So to me, when you want to buy an album, I'll say please buy it on
Bandcamp.
The Friday, Friday Bandcamp. So I get the 15 and not 12, whatever, Yeah. So I did okay. I sold 100 albums of the last one on there. So a good strategy is like releasing that and making people buy them at first. Yeah. It's the only way to hear it. Wow. So, and your fans that have built up will buy it. They'll support you. They'll pay $15 to help you go. And then you release it on all the other platforms, the streaming ones.
Right. So that makes sense. So what's the timeline in between those two releases?
I'd say a couple months.
Okay.
I would say and then you have your videos and all that stuff. Yeah. And then when you go to drop on to the streaming services, that's when you have your music video and you have all the content.
Okay.
To back it up. Then I learned release strategies of like how to stagger it and like using a lot of content but with the same just little piece of content. You know what I mean? If you have a 30-second bit from your video, you want like 3 TikTok videos of all formats, You want 3 Facebook ones. You want 3 IG ones. You want like a 5, a 15, and a 30.
Yeah.
So you have all this ammunition, and you want that for 3 singles.
Yeah.
So when you release your album, you have
So each for each single.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have 1 month, you drop the single, then you wait a while and you have the video, and then so you stretch that out.
Yeah.
Then you got another single, and then a third single.
Yeah.
Then you drop the whole album. So then you got a year of consistency of content, right?
Okay.
So that's my way of doing it as an album guy, but there's the single way is like so popular.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But I don't know, if you have enough content, you can stagger it out, you know. And I talk about this with a lot of other people too. It all depends on your own perspective. Yeah. So then I learned you can get paid like 5 different ways from the same song. Okay. So first is that composition. Yeah. You own the instrumental. Yeah. You 100%, that's you, or whatever percentage deal you have with somebody, you know, somebody made part of it, so you have 10% of that. Right. So that's that composition. Then you have the master as a whole. So that's what you're getting from DistroKid, CD Baby. You're getting those royalties as a whole, the master. You own the master, that's yours. Okay. Then you got publishing. So the publishing is your lyrics. You own the lyrics, you wrote them, you perform them. So there's owning the lyrics, and then there's performing the lyrics. Yeah. So there's performance royalties and publishing. Yeah. So Song Trust is publishing. They're the big daddies. Okay. CD Baby used to have publishing in their so if you go through CD Baby, they'll cover you publishing. Okay. DistroKid doesn't cover publishing. Yeah. So you're missing out on like your lyrics and publishing. So you want to get registered with Song Trust. That's all your lyrics and all your writing side, publishing side. Mm-hmm. And then you want to get registered in the Big Daddy, which is Sound Exchange. That's like the big one in Washington, D.C. that covers everything. So if your song is used for anything, it's tracked. And that's Sound like Exchange. Your composition. Okay. And that's like 5 different entities from each song. So it's like when you see a lot of these young cats making a lot of dough, it's like they are, because they are owned everything and they've covered everything. Right. They're
the business.
And I think that's where Drake took off well. Mm. He had guys in his team that knew that shit very early. Yeah. And then so when he owned all his shit, and that's why he didn't need the record deal. Right. And so when he went on tour with Wayne, he took off, and all that stuff he released, he owned 100%. Right. So that's why he was getting crazy bank. And it's like I knew he had guys in his team that know that shit. Right. That know that well. And then they were good at like playing with the algorithm. Yes. And then they started to figure out trends and stuff like that. So I think that's what set Drake apart from everybody else. Makes sense. Why he was able to make so much money. And also I think what helped him too is like either he registered in the States or he has a place in the States and registered his music in the States. As you mean,
is like an address.
As an address. Like because you got to pay taxes on all that shit. Yeah. And so if you're a Canadian artist, you're paying double tax. Right. Because these are American companies. And you have to fill out like U8 forms for this. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's a good idea to still own all your shit. Yeah. And just wait. Like just keep.
Yeah, but I don't think you need a label because again, that everything you just said is accessible information. If you seek it out, you'll find it for yourself. You don't have to go to school. You don't have to YouTube University at best. Yeah. You could get all this information. Yeah. And like you said, make money. So what do you? It's the same like as almost anything, right? There's a person who wants to work for themselves, and there's a person who doesn't want the responsibility of knowing all of that stuff, just send me the check.
Yeah.
Usually that person doesn't get what they're supposed to get financially, but they're okay. If you're okay with that, you're okay with paying for the convenience of not knowing.
And especially with music, it's like usually 9 times out of 10, it's like when somebody hires somebody to take care of that stuff, that person's fucking you over.
Yeah, in
like,
some way.
In some way. Yeah. And either not telling you enough information or like...
Because as an artist, I could tell you it's not until like these years that I'm even remotely interested in learning that stuff. Like before it was, I want to make music. That's all I care about, making good music or good content or good artistry. I don't really care about how much money it makes. And I actually still feel, after learning some of that stuff, I still feel that way.
Yeah.
But there's still the part of me that's like, well, I still want to make my money doing what I like to do. Because I've been doing what I had to do for so long. I'm ready to do what I like to do. At least like.
Well, I'll tell you this. So like I feel this exact same. You're a true artist and I'm a true artist. And it's like, no matter what, I'm still going to do the art I want. And that's regardless if I make money of it or not, it's not going to stop me from making this thing and the way I want.
I would do it for free.
Exactly. Yeah. I had been, and
I've been doing it at a deficit in some cases.
Pre, post, and during. All. Anywho, but like I delved into it this period because I felt like, I wanted to school myself on that part, and also it's like I had the time to do it, and I was like, okay, now I get it. Now that I know this part, I can get back to pumping out creativity.
Yes.
So that's the thing that's really been missing for the while for me. But on the same hand, it's like I've been making a lot of content, not completed content. Like I've been writing a lot. I have a lot of ammunition leading up to releasing new stuff. So now it's...
Which is also very important. Like,
I wrote more during that lockdown than I'd ever had.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense.
I wrote... There's this kid in Ohio. He was sending me beats like every day. So this one January, about 3-4 years ago, he'd send me a beat and I would just open it up and write to it the first listening. And so for 2 months straight,
without knowing, didn't even know if you like it yet.
Exactly. Didn't even know if I liked it. Just there's the title. I just open it.
That's
dope. Sometimes I wrote 5 pages and maybe I wrote a half a page.
Yeah, that's training and consistency in itself.
Yeah, and then now, so out of that, I got like 2 books. So I went through all of them, sticky notes, things that stood out to me. Then I converted it into PDFs. So I have almost 100 typed out ones on PDF.
Seriously.
So I went through all of those 100, and I found about a dozen that were a theme.
And how long do you think it took you to write the 100?
Over a couple of years. It was like over the whole lockdown, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was like This really started digging in that 2020 summer.
Right.
And then right up until the end of 2023. And then the writing has kind of slowed down the last couple of years just because I'm doing more live shows.
Right.
And then now that I've built up those chops again and I've gotten back out, I went back to the States in July for the first time since pre-lockdown.
Right.
So that was a huge... Like I went down to New Hampshire. That was amazing. That was fun. And the difference between venues in the States and here it's like night and day.
Yeah.
And it's like you're treated as a professional. And you're bringing your business and your profession and your entertainment to these patrons. Wow. And you're treated like, dude, just the simple things like... say, for instance, a lot of the venues here in Canada, you maybe might get 1 beer. like you'll get a drink on the house.
Yeah.
And if you have a band, maybe a beer for each of the guys.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
I've been charged for club sodas in some places in Canada.
You are the entertainment.
I wouldn't call them out, but you know who you are. It's like
and you're the entertainment for the night.
100%. So,
wow.
The one place I went to in the States, in the green room, there's a fridge full of beer, and they're like, help yourself.
Wow.
Obviously don't have the whole fridge and go out and be an idiot on stage, but you're our guest. You're the musician.
And that's so simple.
Simple. And like a counter with a kettle, tea, a fresh lemon, just simple. Even like that one I told you in Buffalo. Yeah. It was like, it was a place called Big Mama's House. And it was like a big house that they turned into a music venue. Okay. And I didn't make much money, but they apologized. They were like, sorry, you're out of town. We'll get you in on a better night. And they gave me like extra cash.
Nice.
It's like, where am I?
Because it is, like you said, it's a business over there. Like,
and it was a shit place.
And a thriving business, so that even the shit places, like the holes in the walls, know how to act because they experienced money. Yeah. They experienced it being a profession. Yeah. Up here, if it wasn't for the grants, we wouldn't even have an industry. Man.
Well, especially hip hop, man.
It's
like I've got into this. There's a young chap, Earl. His name's E.M. Lord. I should introduce you guys. Amazing artist. And so him and I got introduced like September 2020. So he's younger, I'm older. We've learned a lot from each other, which is amazing. And he's a different style, I'm a different style. And he's actually energized me to get back into this.
That's dope.
He brought me out to Woodbine there to do, street performance and stuff. So he revived me. And then he's learning about all the shit I've done. And he's like, holy fuck, man. Yeah. So it's like we're learning off each other.
That's dope.
And
that's how it should
really
work.
Cool. Yeah, and he's really re-energized me in this. But what was I saying? I don't know where was it getting at.
That we're talking about just the fact that if there wasn't for grants and stuff.
So we were just talking about hip hop in general, and I was just like, well, these are old gatekeepers, and I feel like the grants, the festivals, the venues, all the fucking same. No fault of their own. It's just narrow-minded. Yeah. They're like when they hear hip hop and they hear rap, they're just like, ah. Yeah. So for me, and I've gone through some trial and error too. And what I found is when I started booking shows outside of Toronto, it's very cognitive, like with that word, rap. Right. So they're like,
makes sense.
There's the one place in town with the bottle service. That's where they play. And I was like, it's not. I don't want to play in that type of rap.
We're not all Drake.
So what I did is when I started making my emails, I cut out the word rap and I just said vocalist, lyricist. I just wrote vocalist. Because anybody who sings is a vocalist. Yeah. So they decided what genre I was in. Right. The difference, so say I shoot out 20 emails with the word rap, I get one response back. With the changing of the lettering or the wording, I would get almost half back. Yeah. And so I started booking shows all over Canada, and I was like,
this is 2024, people. Remember? Yeah. Like it's still that's crazy in this day and age, but I understand it because the image is still out there of what that music brings, quote unquote. Yeah. And there is still no idea of because rap at this point, especially, which this is why I think there should be subgenres of hip hop. There's
1,000%. There's subgenres.
There's so many different styles. Yeah. Within the one genre.
Yes.
That like you said, almost every other music has subgenres.
Blues country. There's like how many versions of country?
How many versions of rock?
Yeah.
Pop rock, metal.
Geezer rock. Everything.
Why? So it's fine. We have trap hip hop. We have melodic hip hop for guys who more sing rap. We have whatever. Indie. We have underground. We have boom bap, which is what they call underground. Same thing. But I totally think that that's something that should happen. I don't know if that would change the overall perspective because again, it's human to just recollect what you're used to. So even if I said to you, rock, there's gonna be a band that pops into your head that generalizes everybody else.
Yeah, and that's from your own personal experience of music. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The only difference is again, I can say I play soft rock.
Yeah.
And that's a different visual than I play metal.
Yeah.
Whereas if we say
metal,
we say, oh, I rap.
Yeah.
It's one image, and we don't have another place. They're not asking for the.
We don't need shootings here. Yeah. It's like no.
They don't ask what kind of rap. They don't even go that route.
No.
It's just it's rap. We don't want that.
I learned a lot going around these towns, and what I did learn is that there's always one person there that I would have never thought of listening to this.
Yeah.
And they love it.
Yeah.
And they don't even know. They're like, what this is. But they know they like it. Mm-hmm. And I've gotten lots of responses like that. Mostly it's shock of just
I can see it. I can see that.
What is this? So I've played to rooms that are just like Ghostface and kind of just like, okay, well at least they're not walking out. So I've had the other opposite too of people like completely pissed off.
Nice.
And I was like,
that means they're effective.
Yeah, and then I was like, well, the door's right there. You can walk out,
Because they're like, this is my Friday night. Yeah. I'm always here. What do you mess it up? What I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that. I can see
that. So we had the best one, I'll tell you. It was in Oshawa. Mm. It was called the Jazz Bar, Simcoe Jazz Bar. So it's like one of those old timey ones that have frozen in time, and they have a bunch of locals there that just bicker amongst each other. And so Dr. Keys and I, so we spent like all of 2023 on the road. We went all the way to Windsor, St. Catharines, like Goderich, all the way up to Ottawa. We covered like the whole 401, like Southern Ontario. So we went to Oshawa, and this one. She was like, we were playing like an hour each, so that's how we would do it. I would do an hour and he would do an hour, and that would be our night. And then maybe we would do like jam together for like half an hour, right? And that would be it. So this lady, she was, if Oshawa was a person, she was pretty grizzled, and she's like, Simcoe Jazz and Blues Bar. She's like the stage over there. She's like, where's the jazz in your music? It was so offensive, it was hilarious.
Yeah, what it was
like a cartoon character you're watching in front of your face right there. And I'm like,
where's the jazz?
And I was like, he just played an hour of jazz music on the piano.
You wouldn't hear it if it was in your, if you put an ear pod in your ear.
And I said, the hour that I played, I had saxophones, and you were talking over the part. So that it was
my question. I was thinking, like, my question would have been there. Do you know what jazz and blues is?
No, she doesn't.
Probably not.
No. You're the reason because of blues. Like, you create blues. Like you create.
So there's a blues writer.
You are the theme of a lot of these songs. You realize.
You inspired an album.
Yes, you.
Guaranteed.
You wrote a whole fucking genre. You are a blues genre.
Lady, you are the blues.
You are the blues. But I can deal with anything. So I have dealt with anything. But the one where I draw the line is when you stand on the stage. When you come on the stage, now you're in our territory.
Yeah.
And right near the
entering
end,
the wrestling ring.
Exactly. You're in the cage now.
You're in the cage, baby.
Like, she did a beeline across the stage while Keys was performing to tell me something. And then she's like, your music's blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I don't give a fuck. I was like, there's the fucking door.
Get out.
The freedom to walk away. That's what we all have. You know?
Everybody wants to be a star in the movie, right? The audacity to go up on stage just to tell you that you're not good.
Yeah. So I saw something you had. Was it? Did you guys have like live beat performances, like from some producers?
So I'm not sure which one you saw, but like in August. Sorry, was it August? Yes, it was August.
Time flies.
No, anyway.
It was in the past.
Some time ago. This is why I shouldn't have smoked. But anyway, we held a show called We've been holding these events, Bring Your Own Beats, BYOB. So we used to do that a lot. 3, 5. I don't remember the addresses anyway. But we used to do it a lot. We did like 3 of them there first. And then Finn, my partner in Gold Era Music Productions, had the idea of having a bigger one and bringing in a producer well known on that circuit, DiBiase from LA. Well, he's originally from LA. I think he lives in Sacramento. Shout out DiBiase. So yeah, we had that event. That was like the biggest one to date at the Drake Underground.
Yeah. That's where we started.
It was pretty. It did pretty well. Like we did pretty well. We didn't make money, but I think we made a statement that way, and it was most importantly.
I'm sure it cost money too. That was
it cost a pretty penny.
Yeah.
But luckily we did get a couple sponsors, so we got like Loop Sessions Toronto,
great.
And we got Vinyl Emporium. I'm gonna get that right. I don't want to get it wrong.
Nice.
But we got a couple of sponsors involved, so that helped with the budget.
Big time.
Which again, those are the things that we need in this industry is sponsorship and the grants, which I've recently learned you could get grants for things like this. So yeah, that was a good experience. I would do it again. Maybe not with the same budget, but I'd do it again. Yeah. And they asked us to do another one, so that should happen. That's the other thing about being in Canada with events and live performances. You have to factor in weather. Yeah. So we don't want to do
happens no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're gonna suffer at one point.
Yeah.
But that's why we try to avoid winter events. So there's that, and there's also Color Brown, he's been doing music for a good while. He's had songs with Rochester Juice. That's the one I remember the most. I think he has a song not with it's not Machine Me. He works with Jay Wise. They used to be on Flow 93. I think they're working on an album right now. And he has a Colors Barbershop down in Parkdale.
Oh, nice.
Which has been there for years. So that's where we've kind of just started last 3 months. We haven't done one this month actually. We did we call it a beatdown, where a few of us just get together, play beats for each other, feel the vibe. So far it's been like 4 or 5 of us that have shown up. But it's again building, which I think is very key here too, is building a community.
Yes.
In the realm of art that you're in, and even extensions of that realm of art, because we have a boom bap community, which I'm jumping all over the place, but these are a few things that I think Canada's missing in the industry: is the community, the unity, which comes from the same place, the infrastructure to a degree. But again, I think the infrastructure is not as needed as it once was, because everybody can learn on their own and gain the knowledge of their own, but not all of us are doing that. So I guess I regress that, in that we do need managers. Mm-hmm. We need people who don't want to be artists.
That know that much passion into that role.
Yeah. They're willing to not be the star and to get the other person to be the star.
Or a star on another level.
Yes.
Yeah.
We also, and thirdly, I would say, is media.
Yeah.
I don't think, especially, again, for the vast pockets of and just hip-hop, we're not even talking about R&B and soul and house and whatever else is out there, jazz, whatever. Just in hip hop, I don't think we have the media that is covering the various subgenres, as I like to call it, or the various styles in the city. We have our bigger media is covering mostly the trap. Not even in a lot of cases. A lot of them are covering the up and comers, but in a certain trap street lane.
Yeah,
they're not really focused on, because I will say like Gold Era music. We're in what they call the boom bap underground lane. Yeah. Just to name a few artists, that's like Danielson, that's Asa Eastwood. These are the rappers I'm speaking about. Highway 308. You got Snacks. You got Lord Juco. You got Fuego Gods, which is Wisdom Bunded All, and Che Uno. Like, there's so many cats, even just in that side of hip hop, that I don't think could get enough shine. A few of those guys I named do, and they still need more. But there's not the media that's having the interviews, having the podcast, and it's there. It's not like we have to go to see to Much Music anymore.
There is no Much Music,
that in itself tells you what the openness of.
I'm so glad you opened this up, because this is exactly what I talk about. And you know, this is how old we are. Yeah. But we've been done doing this. Like we in my opinion, when we first met and started hanging out, that infrastructure was so solid in Toronto, and we got the sweet stuff out of it. Like I felt like that I didn't even realize it, because we were doing so much. Yeah. We were covering so much at such a young age. Yeah. And I didn't realize how much of the last era we got of that style. Yeah. There was so much media, especially with hip hop. Yes. And that's how you get like, artists coming to feature with Canadian artists. Yes. You know what I mean? And we had a good scene that was supportive, and everybody was supportive. And now you see in hip hop, especially I see it, we're reaching back to that era, because it was already there. Yeah. We had media. Much Music had media for hip hop. Yeah. There was radio. All these radio. Yeah. How many times did we show up to the college radio downtown, Ryerson? We used to go every Saturday, a group of us, whether it was a few of us or a whole gang of us. And then the thing we had at Riley's every week. Yeah. Like Lamoon and I and you guys.
They did a reunion recently.
We would cover this every week, and we knew everybody. We knew everything that was going on. And music videos, everybody would come support each other. Mm-hmm. The infrastructure was there. It was always there. The talent's been here. Mm-hmm. I think it's just like, it's kind of regressed in a way. Yeah. And now it's always been there, and now it's bubbling up. It's just a matter of like us doing it, like creating media. Yes. It's already there. And I think there's a lot of it out there, but in my opinion, there's not a lot of professional media out there.
Yes, that's true.
You don't have to be certified professional. No. Just make it look professional.
Yeah, and the way you move too.
And the way you move.
More importantly, in a lot of ways, the way you move.
And there's not enough community. I think there's a lot of cookie cutter style of artists, and it's just Toronto got into certain trends because of certain artists, and it was just like, that was the thing. It's like, make me sound like The Weeknd, make me sound like Drake, and it just became this carbon copy style, And now,
even that though, that's again, we got to realize that is certain type of artist.
Yes, exactly.
It's gonna want to do that,
which washed out.
Do that.
Yes. But that's fine.
And those people, we gotta recognize that those guys are gonna get most of the shine. Yeah. They're gonna get the spotlight more than anything, because they're making music to do exactly that. Yeah. Get to the spotlight, get to the money. There just has to be a balance. That's what's missing. Yeah. There's not a balance. The times that you're speaking of, there was I'm trying to think of a good example of. See, it's harder back then to look back and think of a overground artist that was blowing up because there was no Drake.
I'd say like Socrates,
but like Socrates,
and
those Choclair.
They were in the scene, like
yes,
they produced for Nas, and
they're
like
still, and they were still. You would see them sometimes at these other things.
Yeah. So
there was still a connection.
Yes.
Right.
There's a degree of separation.
There's two things that are happening now, and in some ways it's good. One of the biggest artists in the world is from here, but he's so big.
He's so big.
We can't see him we're not like to transpose it to our time. We're not going to see him at Riley's hanging out.
No.
I don't expect you, right? But the good part is his spotlight shines down on the rest of the city. Yeah. Or it should. The other problem is what is considered street level or underground or on the come up is very political on the streets. So the community is definitely not going to be there because some of these guys don't like. It's a problem to be in the same room. Yeah. So there you can't have
a community with that.
Because there was beefs and issues back in our days with different camps and so forth and so on. But this is the bad thing about the social media. It wasn't as known by everybody. And B, it didn't play out in public as much. Yeah. Whereas now, these guys, all their business is on the internet, so everybody knows, this guy doesn't get along with that guy, and we can't be around. And there's direct killing going on behind these things. So on the very top, it's a high degree of separation, and on the bottom, there's that separation. But I still think, like a lot of the artists that I named, and a lot of the people from the time that we were around are still around doing music. Yeah. Which again is a good and a bad thing because you get stuck in your ways without the fresh new blood to try something new. Yeah. But at the same time, I think that level of community still exists. Those guys are still making music together. Those guys are still kind of making moves together, like Tona, Sazy, Rich Kid as a producer. Like these people are still have that community as we do. However, there's still, and I would even say back in those days, we weren't doing it as much as we could have and should have. We weren't as unified as we were more unified, and in comparison, it's great, but still wasn't what it should have been then. Especially for a city who's not getting at their props and is looked at, especially at that time, as not even important or not impactful, while our artists were amazing. Yeah. As you could see, as they were working with everybody across the border. But I think Canadians, especially in the arts, especially in music, especially in hip hop, we miss that bravado that the Americans have. We miss that I want to be the best, not only in my city, in my country, and then in the world. I want to be the best. Like, I don't think a lot of guys are even thinking about being the best in the city anymore. Yeah. I don't know if a lot of guys even compare themselves, because we all have pockets of fandom. Even though...
Is it I think it's more like a contempt. Like, I'm good, like, I'm fine to be like just like this artist or something. Yeah. Where I think kind of what you're saying is also there's not a lot of individual artists that shine. Like, that are like, this guy's so unique, or this girl's so unique, that they're selectively their own. Mm-hmm. I see less and less of that. Yeah. But there are artists that do stand out, but you're right, they don't have that same level of competition of individuality as a lot of the American artists.
And that's what I guess that's not Canadian. Yeah. That's not really who we are, which I think I'm not saying we should be American either. Yeah. But I think there should be a sense of pride in being Canadian that we haven't developed. Yeah. And B, in this time of we're shooting a podcast, we're shooting a show in a room in your house. I don't have to see nobody else. Yeah. I could do this, like, I could record my album, I could get features even without ever meeting anybody physically. Yeah. I could become a big deal without leaving my basement.
That's a weird concept to me.
Right. But that allows you to develop. Emotions aren't weird, but they can be weird ways of looking at all your contemporaries.
Yeah.
And yourself, because you're isolated in a bubble, thinking, "Well, I'm the greatest because look at all these comments."
Yeah.
Look at all. It's not any different than having an entourage that tells you your shit doesn't stink every day.
Yeah.
Except you literally never have to see these people in person.
Yeah.
You just get to read the comments and boost your ego.
You don't have that person yelling for the bar from you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the experiences you've had by going on the road, which I was going to say that at that time, that's another thing. A lot of these artists haven't experienced.
No, you need to.
Going on the road and dealing with hecklers and having to win a crowd back over. Even just live performances in the city. Like, you know how much we used to perform back in the day?
Yeah.
I don't see these guys doing that no more.
And if I do, it's very short.
Yeah.
Very short.
Over their own lyrics.
Yeah.
Like playing the same song.
And you know what blows me away is like, because backing tracks, right? Because I used to argue with artists with this. And I'm like, I don't do backing tracks. But that's just like unheard of now. People are like, they can't even tell online. They're like, man, this artist sounds so weird. And it's like, no, that's because he's not performing with 8 tracks live. Yeah. You know, he's actually, it's called rapping.
Yeah. But that's
like, and even the term freestyle nowadays, it's like
different.
Kids freestyle to them is like, I memorized that song. I'm like, that's not freestyling. That's something you memorize.
Freestyle to them is everything that's just not on the album.
Clean slate.
As long as I rap, I'm not rapping on the album, and it's not a live concert.
Yes,
it's a freestyle.
That's a freestyle. And so, but then, like, I had to tell this young guy, and he's like, no, freestyle is like. I'm like, no, I know. I've memorized 3 albums, so I can go on the radio and blast. And people be like, oh my God, that's crazy freestyle. It's like, no, that's something I memorized. And I'm like, when I look at artists and rappers doing freestyles, I'm like, they've memorized that. Yeah. That's not, I know how a rapper's mind works.
Yeah.
When I can see their face when they're searching for words.
Yeah.
And they're like, when your punctuation is too good sometimes, I'm like,
hear it,
you've rehearsed that in front of the mirror.
Yeah.
And the thing that drives me bananas is like the live on the phone reading. It's like, come on, man. That's part of your art. Part of your art is memorizing a bit. But I get it if it's like first try.
Yeah.
But to come off as that being fantastic and amazing and that's your thing and you're getting a lot of praise for that. No, I'm sorry. That's like T-ball, man.
That's exactly
it's
what
like
it
hitting
is.
a home run with the T-ball and be like,
I'm the greatest.
Mark McGuire
you
and
see
this
me hit
shit.
the fastball? You see me hit that fastball?
Yeah.
But
that's exactly what you said about you can be in this bubble. You can be in this bubble. You can drop freestyles every day, but until you do it in front of people and you fuck up in front of people, you're not, in my category, in my eyes, you're not the real rapper.
Yeah.
And this is where Drake got into trouble with Kendrick. He fucked with a writer. You mess with a real, like Drake has been known to have ghostwriters and people write in a lot of emotion for him. You mess with a real writer, like a real sit down MC writer, it's not even gonna be a competition. For Drake not being a writer, he's holding his own. Like I'll give it to him.
See, this is an example of my Canadian pride kicks in here.
Me too. I feel
bad.
I
love both of them.
I feel bad for the dude.
I like both of them. I like both of them.
Me too.
I am a big Kendrick fan. I am a big Drake fan. Different reasons. I think they're totally different artists. What I will say is,
Drake to me is the product. He's like Dre. It's like the whole thing in a nutshell.
I think the timing is very overlooked. I think Drake fell susceptible to, and it happens every time, we're tired of you.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
we're tired of you
winning.
Yes.
In our
yes,
face.
all the time.
And rubbing it
in. And because of the ghostwriting, the pop star, all these implications that make it anti-culture.
And we know Drake. Like, I know Drake. You know Drake. It's like, dude, you're not hard like that. You're not from.
But okay, this is what I'm saying.
You grew up in like
this is my thing. And
posh.
I don't mean to defend. I don't mean to defend. But there's two things with that argument with me is what rapper doesn't play tough?
Exactly. They're all. It's
what
all
rapper
make-believe.
Doesn't play tough?
It's all make believe.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
And here's the difference.
I agree.
While we're criticizing him because he comes from Summer Hill or whatever, and he's from he is around actual gang members.
Yes.
So
yeah,
I'm not saying he should be Tekashi 6ix9ine either. Yeah. I agree, and I get it. The truth is the truth. You aren't the tough guy. Yeah. But if you're around tough guys 24/7,
oh, you'll have a lot of guys that will jump for a few dollars. A lot of guys.
And which is tougher, the guy who shoots or the guy who can ask the guy to shoot for him?
The guy who asks.
Yeah. I would think so. Yeah. But again, my Canadian pride kicks in. I do think I'm not even saying that on my Canadian pride. I think the Ja Rule, the MC Hammer, which I don't even think are fair comparisons in terms of talent, but in terms of how they're viewed by the culture, it's easy to hate the pop star in hip hop. It's easy, and I think not everybody, of course, because I'm not one of those people, but I think, like I said, the culture, or because a lot of this is not even cultural, what's going on,
just like,
but I think
TMZ news type of,
the mass amount of people were tired of you winning, bro.
Yeah.
So now, come down. And we got a guy who is really good to take you down, so
the best,
it's even
probably
easier to be like, fuck this guy. Okay, oh yeah, get your girl. Whatever you do, Jake, sucks. Whatever you've been doing. So, but the hypocrisy and the recency bias is just what gets me, and I hate the fact that a lot of Canadians didn't, if everything's true, deservedly didn't back him. Yeah. And I'll take that back. I don't think it's deservedly in the name of keeping Toronto a relevant city in the music industry. Your biggest asset should be backed almost blindly
by your city.
By your city, almost blindly. The man should have came out, because there shouldn't be a case where you could talk to Canadians and the Canadians are like, oh, Drake, yeah, we didn't like him. We never liked him. It shouldn't be that way, because that's the admiration I have for the American pride. Yeah, they would never. And that's another thing against Drake that helped along with the timing. You're not even from here, bro. You're Canadian. Yeah. You go back to that soft ass country. Yeah. Because your soft ass doesn't belong in this hard genre.
It didn't help that he was a pop
There's so
star.
much going on. He's biracial, like all. You're not pure blood. Yeah. You're not one of us. Yeah. You're not like us. This worked. The whole thing kind of just worked perfectly in Kendrick's favor, almost like the whole thing worked in Drake's favor against Meek. Yeah. And Kendrick, smart enough, used a lot of that to beat Drake at his own game. Yeah. Use the same, the back-to-back where Drake dropped 2 songs. Kendrick said, I'm dropping 7.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what I said. You ran into a writer. A writer's always going to have stacks on stacks on stacks of songs. Yeah. In the woodworks, and if not, they will make them really fast. Yes, and we lived through this era. This was a fun era, like the Jay-Z Nas era, and I believe wholeheartedly that without Jay-Z doing that, Jay-Z doesn't have the career he has, and he knew it. He knew that Nas was probably the best lyricist, and he's like, if I poke this bear, then it's going to stoke a fire that's going to help both of us. Yeah. Yeah. And, thank goodness he did, because I was like, there's a little bit of truth to it, that Nas was kind of like, falling
said he was
a bit.
retiring.
He was retiring, but this lit a fuse in this guy that it is still firing. Yeah, and it's like thanks to that we got some of the best hip hop we got from Nas. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's almost a good strategy business move, and also maybe in Drake's way, he could have planned this in a way too that Jay-Z did as well. You know what I mean? Because there's Drake, love me for all my money and all this stuff, and it's like now he could be the bad guy, or it's like the villain,
Black Mask.
And now he can come back in a different way and be like, I'm still here. I can still compete at this level.
I'm very curious. I'm very curious. I'm very interested in if he could pull it off. I
think Drake's a smart guy, and I don't think he's stupid enough to let all this shit lose all this stuff by the wayside. And he's not gonna back down. And he's been through enough. Yeah. Independent as an artist. I don't think he's a pushover. I think he's he's just dealing with a juggernaut. And
it's just the history of it. Like again, if we're comparing it to Ja Rule and 50 Cent level.
And these are the type of artists that could. And Ja Rule at the time was like number one hits. Number one easily.
He was a pop hip hop star.
Yeah, amongst big selling artists, right? Yeah. And it's like, but that's in this art. It is art, and in this realm, in this ring and art, if you're an entertainer on that side, Ja Rule needed a lot of help with a lot of other production. Mm-hmm. If you're running into an Eminem or a Kendrick, since day one they've just been an artist. Yeah, they 100%, and they've never changed their style because to make money. Or the money has come. Yeah,
as a result
of them not changing themselves as an artist. And it's like you met a real artist, and now you're in the world of their art. Yeah, and it's like they don't care if what the result is. They're gonna stay true to their art. Yeah. So you're messing with an artist, and I think Drake. I don't think he fully understood that, but he found out. Yeah, he messed around, he found out, and he's like, man, okay, this guy's...
I
think a lot of it's played up, too.
My problem is, I think the bias was in place before.
I like exactly what you said, where it was, people were
tired of him. So they didn't give him a fair chance, and social media has an effect on battles now that they didn't have.
It spreads like wildfire.
Yeah. So the difference between the Jay-Z and Nas, when we were it was months in between each record. Yeah. Where one would answer the other. It's months, almost years in between records. So there's that. There's time for you to sit with the takeover. Yeah. And listen to it over and over and over. And then, oh shit, here comes Nas 3 months later. Was it even 3 months? Yeah, I think.
But it was like everybody got their turn. And now it's
just boom, 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 now boom, it's just I didn't even get to digest.
Yeah, it's like that. Hold on.
Family Matters, and here comes Meet the Grabs, and not only on back to back. Yeah. So I think because you have a lot of these bloggers who are now saying, "Hey man, if you really listen to what Drake was saying, bro, listen again. Maybe we weren't, because Kendrick." Again, beat Drake at his own game. Released so much content that he took over the internet.
100%. Oh man, you just nailed it. So that was what Drake was so good at. Like you and I were saying that trends.
Yes.
Trends that blow up on the internet. That's what makes Drake what he does. That little figure he had on the. Yeah. So that marketing strategy. Kendrick used that same marketing strategy with his diss songs.
There are superstars in especially in entertainment that are either enigmas and that's what makes them. Yeah. Or they're always in the front line.
Consistent.
And that's what makes them. Yeah. Drake is the latter. He's always
for like a decade.
This is why they're so opposite. This is why it's almost a perfect battle. Yeah. And I kind of wished it went differently. I wish the pedophile and beating your wife talk didn't happen because that tainted it for me personally. Yeah. But I wish, and I think it tainted it for Drake in that I started this talk, but now I don't like where it's going.
Yeah.
Which is hypocritical, but that's another topic.
Yeah.
I wish they had the opportunity to do the Nas Jay-Z thing, even the 50 Cent Ja Rule thing, like the thing where we got to see it play out, rather than he has 5 songs, he only had 2, he won. Yeah. It's over here. It's already over, and it's over mostly because of volume. Not saying that Kendrick definitely had content. I'm not saying he didn't have content, but volume, which in today's battles is relevant.
Yeah.
Again, that's how Drake beat Meek Mill. Yeah. Was volume.
Yeah.
He dropped 2 songs, and Meek was expecting 1.
Yeah.
And the internet and
environment.
Everybody. Yeah. I wish at least in Toronto we had that reaction that we had with Back to Back in support of the artist that's from this city. I don't care if the whole rest of the world was like, yeah, he lost.
Yeah.
Drake lost. But here we should have been, no matter what, he's winning.
Well, you might, I think you nailed it earlier, and I'll ask you this too. Maybe Drake didn't put enough into his own community.
That's a big, yes.
He didn't back the artists that are big in Toronto. And also, I've got lots of stories that I've heard where he's stolen a lot of shit from artists coming up in Toronto.
Or
styles, whole bars,
or
he's a melodies
artist as well.
Or who's that Navo guy?
Nav, yeah.
He fucked that guy over too.
A lot of people.
A lot of artists. He got close to him and he took something from you.
A lot of people say that.
And so there's a lot of that. So then when it happens, everybody's like, yeah, fucking let him burn.
Yes, I get that.
And honestly, I'm just ranting a little bit, but it's like, Drake, you have the ability to really put a lot of artists in the city on top. You have the ability. You have a venue right here, a beautiful venue down the street here, History. Mm-hmm. It's packed. I get it. It's a business. You want to do, I appreciate that, right? Mm-hmm. But you could easily have an indie night once a week or once a month where you showcase indie artists that you can put them on their platform. I'll give you an example.
Give the man a feature.
I'll give you an example. Justin Bieber, you know what I mean? The platform this kid has, remember Carly Rae Jepsen, Call Me Maybe?
Yeah.
She was a Canadian Idol contestant, and she's from Vancouver, and so she super talented, and we were I worked on that production, and we're like, she's gonna win hands down, and she didn't win, and which was good for her, you know. But she made this song on her own, Call Me Maybe, and all Justin did was tweet it.
Right.
And that, imagine Drake comes and,
it's not even an imagine thing because he's done it for
he could.
He's done it just not for Toronto artists the way that he should.
Come on, dude. Right. You built a club for fucking NBA artists in the fucking arena. And it's like you could do this.
So much things.
You have this. You could just tweet, check out this Toronto artist. He's got an album coming out next week. And I guarantee, man, if he did a lot of that, when this thing would have dropped, there would have been artists standing up more for Drake.
I can't disagree. Not
that he has to. Not that I'm saying.
That's one thing.
Not that he has to. That's what I'm saying.
That's one thing.
He doesn't have to.
No.
You don't have to. And nothing against you if you don't.
Yeah.
You don't have to. But I'm saying, this is coming back to what we saying before. Yeah, and this is what's going to break the music industry. Community, man. If you don't have community in the hip hop world, if you're at the top, you will fall.
Yeah.
Look at the guys who are at the top. Even Eminem, he's got a community. He's got guys he works with. There's a community. Snoop's got if you look at the camps, they have a community.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they'll stay like that. Yeah. If Drake doesn't have that community, it doesn't matter how big you get. You're not going to survive anymore.
You have to create a landing spot. And home should always be.
And I hope, honestly, I hope Drake, I think out of this, if he did that, he did the latter, he would be so much bigger. And I think something, I don't want to keep saying Eminem, but it's Eminem did this thing in Detroit where he did a live thing for the new Grand Station, and he honored all the big Detroit artists.
Yeah.
And it's he's doing so much for other artists that would have you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
so if Drake has that money, he has that power, and like we said, he doesn't have to. But if Drake did things like blowing up artists in Toronto, I would look at him in a totally different way, and I globally.
Okay, so here's two things though. Here's two things. One, actually, let me start with this one. If I'm gonna be a devil's advocate on that subject, because I don't know, but I've also heard stories that he's done people wrong or he doesn't do enough support. And in my estimation, I could say I think he could do a lot more for Toronto artists. But his argument could be, well, what about The Weeknd?
Yeah.
What about Party Next Door?
He did, yeah.
What about what about, even though it probably didn't work that it should, Preem?
Yeah.
Smiley. I think the issue is, from the outside looking in, it looks like he doesn't want competition in his, because even him and Tory Lanez had a brief issue which they've, like, Tory Lanez was like the only Toronto artist who was in jail that was like supporting Drake, but he's in jail.
Yeah.
And
unfortunately, nobody supported him.
Again, timing, because even if a guy like Tory was out, it would look different. Yeah, it would probably look different, because especially if their relationship is cool, it would look different. I feel like he would back him. Yeah. But anyway, there's that. The thing that I really wanted to say is there's almost a chicken and the egg thing going on when it comes to creating that community. And I'm not even going to use Drake. I'm going to take it even out of music. Similar to the Canadian men's basketball program, right? Yeah. We have a lot of guys in the NBA now, a lot of great NBA players, or very good NBA players, that could play for us in FIBA.
There's like two on each team now.
Exactly. Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. And we're not talking about guys who are just bench guys.
No, like starters.
Yeah. It's not what was the guy's name that used to play on the Bulls? He's from Canada. Not Livingston.
Yeah.
Is it Livingston?
Oh, the big guy.
Yeah. I cannot. Oh, that's terrible. I can't remember his name. But anyway, Wennington. Bill Wennington, something like that. Anyway, we have guys, and there was a time where we had guys in the league like Jamal McGlure, who didn't want to play for Team Canada because Team Canada didn't do anything for him on his way up.
Yeah. There was
they even shunned him.
There was no infrastructure, real.
Yeah. Him, and he was a phenom and should have been celebrated by Team Canada, because it's like, he wasn't. Yeah. In fact, he was pushed to the back in a lot of ways, which a lot of guys felt that way. Yeah. And I think that still goes on now. So if we bring it back to music now, Drake could easily feel like, well, Toronto did nothing for me.
It's in a few of his songs.
Yeah, you guys hated on me.
And
because that's what we do.
That's what we do.
Yes.
That's what we do. We still do this.
Exactly.
Fuck you people in Toronto. Like, it's true. Like, I've played at the best places in this city, and you know how hard it is to get people to come out. So I feel when Drake, what's that one song? He's like, I forget. It's about like, people are like, oh, now I like you, but you never came around to my shows before. And it's like, I feel that pain. You know what I mean? The description
that you had of having performances here compared to the States, take that as a symbol of the entire experience in this industry for especially a hip-hop artist. Yeah. What we go through here as opposed to what we may go through or see down there, because you might even just go to watch another artist and see how they're treated and how they're supported, and you guys are relatively on the same level in terms of being known. Yeah. And what they're able to do down there, being known on the same level that we're known in comparison up here, is Like you could live
night and day.
You can live off of music down there.
Yeah, I know
our
artists.
level.
I know American artists that's all they do.
Right.
Yeah.
Up here, I mean, if you can see your way to grants, which takes a certain level of notoriety.
But you can't do it within just Canada. There's no way.
Yeah.
There's not many artists that
No.
if you're doing,
especially as a rapper,
you're out of this country.
Exactly, and that's the thing. That's the problem, and that's what.
If you're an American, you can stay in America and make a living.
Yes,
That's it.
you can't do that here.
You can't. It's
and
impossible.
that not only financially, but creates a dog eat dog thing.
Yeah.
And you can't get ahead of me by a little bit. We're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But if you get the grant, I don't.
Yeah.
If you get the show, I don't.
Yeah.
It's not like I could get a show somewhere else in Ontario.
It's not like there's grants for both of us.
No.
It's like you get it and that's it.
Top 5, top 10, whatever the number is, and then there's a clear cutoff.
Yeah.
And a lot of that does not go to the actual artist because we're not, like we said, so we don't really want to deal with the business. We want to deal with the music.
So I love what you're doing. That's exactly what is going to change this entire landscape in Canada. And this is what had been done 20 years ago, right? It's like we just did it, and then the industry followed around us.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you were done there.
No, go ahead.
So I started, because what you want to do is you want to start booking for the next year in like November, December, festivals, and all the applications usually come out in January too. So what I found, and it's like, I find that my hip hop is not like, it's not very like in your face, it's more laid back. So when people actually hear it, they're like, oh, okay, I could fit into this, and we can mesh it with these artists.
Right.
I can blend with these artists.
Yeah.
I applied for every goddamn festival in this country. I got like no replies. I got maybe a couple, and it's all the same acts they book.
Yeah.
And even artists that I know that have been selected for these festivals, they're like, yeah, you're right, 100%. There's no hip hop. And it's like, it's all these people that they're, as soon as they hear the word, they're like, oh, we can't have that. You know what I mean? Because it's family friendly. It's like, you know how many kids I've played in front of and they love it?
How about you hear the music?
You're just hearing the music. So it's like, I got frustrated and I was like, fuck this shit. So there's a gazebo down here. And when the lockdown happened, we had nowhere to go. I went down there and I found that they had power. So the power outlets. So I had the KRKs, the ones with the yellow. Yeah. So I had those and this mixer, and I brought everything down and I started playing.
Nice.
And I did like 2 hours of hip hop, and people, they stopped and looked. At least they looked. They were like curious, and some people stayed, and there was people that were like, "Oh, this is cool," and even people that you would never expect would like that genre would be like, oh, that's really cool, interesting. Yeah. And for the fact that you're out there doing it, it doesn't matter what style you're playing. So anyways,
putting in the work.
Long short of it, after it was my dream to kind of like do a festival there. So last year I created this thing called Community Focus, and I teamed up with the coffee shop here in down the street, and he let me use a venue of his. And so we started doing like a multi-stream thing. And what I wanted to do was feature a different indie artist each month. So we had like, an R&B guy, and then we had like a rapper, and then we had like a singer-songwriter, and then all this. So then that idea kind of wore thin because it wasn't really a venue. And then, but that, to me, that was a stepping stone. And that was also kind of like bringing businesses, small business, like you guys got sponsors, which is so key. And this is what I want to do, is like small businesses, indie artists in areas that are not normally done with live music, and making that a platform. So I applied to the city. I got approved. Nice. So I bought insurance through the city, which is the best way to go. Okay. So I got insurance and I got the noise permit. Nice. And we did a whole festival down here at the gazebo.
Nice.
And it was a whole day. We had 7 artists.
Why?
I hired a real front of house audio person.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a sponsorship from Long and McQuaid.
Nice.
The coffee shop. Fox Theater ran our ads for free before the movies. Yeah. We had a local print shop. They gave us 50% off the banner and stuff. And then there was a restaurant here that he's like our age. Yeah. He's like, that's awesome, man. He's like bringing the community together. He's like, here's $100. And he gave me a few gift certificates. And then the coffee shop for the day, they gave the crew and all the artists free coffee all day. Yeah. So I got enough to cover my expenses maybe. Yeah. And it was a hard day, every musician busted their hump and everybody helped. But it was amazing, and the artists that played, they're like, this is the coolest thing we've ever done.
See, okay, I got something to say. So I'm gonna go back a bit, but one of the things that we also had back then was management.
Yes.
I'm gonna connect these dots real quick here.
Yes.
Moon was managing me and Cash and to some Poe and you. Yeah. And then you also had almost every artist had some form of team. I don't know if that goes on today, at least not in the same focus. A lot of the times the managers want to be the Puff Daddy of the situation, to be in front of the camera. As I hear you talking and all that, I'm like, you ever thought about being a manager?
I could do it all. I could do it all for everybody. It's just, to me, the artist has to have that self-motivation.
That's a fact.
I'm not doing
waking them up
for
to go to the
anybody that doesn't want to do that. Yeah. We already know our past. Yeah. That's that, and that's the reason why I did my own thing. But I could, if somebody came to me and said that, and I don't know if it's just artists nowadays, or it's just the mindset of certain young people. I had a young guy say that to me, and I'm like, well, okay, then let's start with this. Yeah. And he's at first, so I'm trying to teach him about the road, right? And he's like, well, you can book some shows for me on the road. I'm like, yeah, but it's you're gonna have to go through the way I say it, because I have experience in the way we're doing it. And it's he's like, oh, I'm going to bring this person and this person and this person. I'm like, no, you're not. It's are they performing? Yeah. No, then they're not coming. Yeah. Because it's a waste of time, money, and all this stuff. And if you want to do this,
it's a job,
you got to let go of all that stuff. That the part of it that's, and he said this, this is why he can't work with a lot of artists. He says everybody wants to be the IG artist.
Yes.
It's just showing up. Yo, I'm in the studio. Click, click, click. It's like the Instagram model.
Yes.
At the gym.
Yes. You don't want to actually do the work.
You don't actually do the work. You just want to show everybody, get the likes that you're doing the work.
Yeah.
It's
nobody and it's because there's so many artists that didn't that created a fan base in their basement. Yes. So they didn't have to build quote unquote anything. But they definitely feel like they built an empire, in fact.
It's empty. It's an
empty
feeling.
It's not real, because you're
not going to get good quality content out
You're not touching the people.
Yeah.
You are touching people with your music, but you're not creating an actual foundation to fall back on.
Yeah, and you're doing yourself a disservice as an artist, because it might, you might get something trendy catching, but it's not going to be anything that's going to fulfill you. And
that's the other part of it. Like you said, the IG artists. A lot of these guys don't want to be artists.
Exactly.
They don't even.
Because to be an artist is to be an individual and to be thinking to yourself.
They don't love it, bro. Yeah. They don't love making music. They don't love writing lyrics. They don't love performing. They don't have. Coming up as a rapper, practicing my performance was a thing.
I love it.
Because I used to love performing more than I loved recording, because you get the instant gratification of what you're doing. But I don't think these artists, again, they're in a time where they're not outside. Yeah. They didn't grow up outside. Yeah. They didn't play in the playground with other kids. They grew up on their iPad
On the screen.
and the screen.
Yeah.
So the idea of even performing in front of people is
Terrifying.
daunting. Yes. And I'm not speaking from a perspective of I was never scared.
There's
But I
also a
did
level
it.
of comfort. There's also another way
Yeah.
of like being super comfy. And I find, like, I was talking to,
That's what they're addicted to.
nobody's willing to embarrass themselves and to like, I did
Because it might go on IG.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's a polished end. It's a polished end product. And it's like, you have to experience those things if you want to be a true artist. And if you want to develop, I always love
All the greats did.
this one common line. It was from Electric Circus. And that album was so wild and different that he did his own thing. But he said, it's like, what's the point? I don't know how it went, but it's like, what's the point of being artists if you're not going to grow? So if you're going to be the same artist, what's the point of calling yourself an artist?
That's right.
You know, you can just be a performer. You know, you might as well do karaoke. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we're the positive. Let me drop some.
Yeah,
positives.
we got some positive here.
I do think that there are people that are trying to create and do some of these things that we said the city needs. Like Scratch Bastard has his festival every summer. There's usually Canadian artists on that. I guess again the headliner is usually American, which
that's another thing with the festivals.
I think we have again artists at levels and that are in spaces, and even former artists, if you want to say that, and are in spaces where we can create our own infrastructure. It's going to take a lot of time, and there has to be patience with it too, because they're going to lose.
Yeah,
I know cats, Supreme Jeans Promotions. They're doing concerts, and the openers are always Canadian. They're always local talent, and some of them I didn't really tap into. So, and I'm in the industry, but for example, they had a Mobb Deep Smith & Wesson concert the other day. A.O. Biggs opened for them. Jay Kapongo? Shoot, I'm probably getting your name wrong, but he opened for them. A couple artists opened for them, and that's JD Era and Lord Fury, who have been a part of this entertainment industry for decades, and now they're into promotions, right? And now they're bringing guys in, which that was happening then as well with Ron Nelson and there's that other promotion company that used to bring in people. I can't remember the name. This is terrible. It's terrible memory time. But I think the theme of this show is we need to build an infrastructure, a long time coming. I think there are people that are trying to do that. I think if we as a city can create the community and create the foundation in which the cream rises, it always rises, but we're in support and we're connected. It doesn't have to be everybody knows everybody, but the city is small enough for that to happen.
Yeah.
But at least 3 degrees, 6 degrees of separation in which we could reach each other and grow the entire industry. It's just that the mentality of the people involved, I don't know if that's there. Again, I don't know. I saw an interview the other day it was a dancehall promoter, and he was saying a lot of these people are of the community or of the culture, but they don't care about the culture.
Yeah.
They benefit from the culture, but they don't really they don't necessarily care if it grows as long as they're getting paid their paycheck. As long as they're thriving, they don't care about the up-and-comer. And that's what I think we need. I don't think we've never seen Maestro's protege.
Yeah.
We never seen the Cardinal protege. We never seen a Drake protege. We never seen the next, who's the guy that you're saying is going to take your spot? Because you realize that you can't hold the spot forever.
I got to give props to Chaos, because Chaos pushed Drake in the spotlight a bit.
That's true. There's truth in that.
There were.
Yeah, there are examples.
Small
Even
examples.
They say Cardi gave him some.
Cardi had a bit to do with that. But I agree with you. Say like without
even with that, the argument could be made that I don't know about the chaos so much, but that he was already kind of on his way when these guys came to latch on.
Yeah,
and we have to get to the point where, and I don't get me wrong, it's not easy because you just had an example of trying to work with a younger artist, and they're not gonna. They know best. We knew best too.
Yeah,
because we thought we were smarter than the older guys. Because the older guys weren't getting to where we wanted to get to.
Yeah.
So why are we listening to them? The truth is, there's a knowledge base there that we should have tapped into to help us not make the same mistakes that they made.
Yeah.
And I think the same is true today, in which, and again, don't get me wrong, a guy like Cardi is tapping into the younger artists. I do see now him trying to get some younger artists on, get some self-included, lesser known producers in some spots. He does do that. I just think there's got to be more of that.
There's a big gap.
There's a big gap. There's a lot more that can be done. And him, for example, just put out a Toronto wrap-up type thing end of the year where he was talking about the unity. Imagine a song with Cardinal Drake, Justin Bieber, and Weeknd.
That's like already 3 of the biggest artists
in the world. We don't even need all those.
We're all from Toronto.
If 2 of those guys, 3 of those guys work together on a level consistently, what would happen?
Huge.
And then poured that back into the Canadian infrastructure. I think because we have my cousin said this once, I'm rambling, but my cousin said this once, America is for people who are comfortable with being uncomfortable to get it, whereas Canadians are comfortable. Or, sorry, the better way he put it is America is for a single person, Canadian is for family. Where you want comfort and consistency. You want to know that if you get hurt, you could go to the hospital, you're going to be taken care of. There's a relatively good law enforcement, call them, they're coming.
Yeah.
That type of stuff. When you reach the age of, I'm just want to coast now.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas America is for that grinder who wants to go out and it's a new frontier all the time over there. Because there's enough people over there. If you go over there with a good idea and some moxie and some work ethic, you're going to make something of yourself. Here, not so much because people are comfortable. Which is why it's also easier for us to turn our back on one of our own when they're not doing so well anymore. We already have an inferiority complex. So when the Americans say, "You're not really this guy," the Canadians say, "Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's me too."
Right. Exactly. That without even realizing it. Yeah, that's me too.
Shit, that's me in the mirror. No, it's true. I agree with everything you say, and I think I do see it, happening. There's some cool music communities in the city, but it has to be like that mentality of working together and just kind of. I think it'll happen eventually. And also, this is a major subject I talk about with a lot of people on the show, is that the CRTC needs to change. It's all 1998 based.
Yeah. Probably earlier than that.
So if you update it, you're going to include Canadian content. And we used to make everything here. Comedy. We used to make fucking Muppets, Fraggle Rock here, TV shows, cartoons,
Hollywood North,
everything. Look at Liberty Village. Everything was here, but that's gone because the Canadian content, the money is not going into that anymore. It's not going into original. Much Music had programming.
Yes,
there was a rap show. There was somebody,
all that's missing,
and all those people were experts in those fields. Yeah. So if you have that now and you put that 35% money into it, then we won't have to fight for the same grant. Yeah. Then there's 35% allocated for your show and my show. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's I think there's too much crabs in a bucket fighting for the same little prize, that it's there's not like there is, the money's there. We just need to refocus it into a different, category of like creativity and shows that are made, by the artists, for the artists. So it's there. It's always been there. I think it's just the focus has to get into it. And it's funny. I've had a couple of younger rapper guys on, and that area, Gary Street, like Dufferin and like DuPont area. Mm-hmm. So there's all this industrial area, and there's become like venues now that are like pretty well known in the scene. Okay, it's like I grew up there. Yeah, like we used to throw eggs there and fucking do little shits, and even 20 years ago, that's where I used to get weed and like hang out, and they're all bike shops. But now it's all like a scene, like a music scene. There's a live venues there, and nice. So there's there's the nucleus of a community there. Mm-hmm. A lot of the artists know each other in this city. Mm-hmm. But I think this, like you said, the social media thing is ripping a lot of people apart, the competition. And it's like, the more you get out and play with each other and do shows together, it's like you're going to see the community in it and the benefit of it. That's
artist development in a sense.
So I hope I see it go in a good way like that. And I'm very optimistic about stuff like this. And when I put this festival together, it's like I had artists young and old, and it sparked a fire in the young artists too. Right. So it's like that young rapper, he started his own poetry thing in his community. So it's like, it's there.
Each one teach one.
It's there. Yeah. And I remember actually that was the Dead Prez slogan, and we met the promo guys there one night when we were at Riley's out there, and they had just released a new mixtape, and we were talking with their representative, So I think if Toronto as a whole, we become like this unity, and then we can do it globally, it's like.
And I think we had, it's a timing thing, and I think we had a perfect time. Yeah. Again, like probably right before the Drake explosion, before the OVO explosion, I think we had a opportunity right there. Yeah. And it was a missed one, but it doesn't mean that doesn't come around or shouldn't be. We shouldn't be preparing for the next Drake, the next Weeknd, the next Justin Bieber, the next Jessica Reyes, the next is already on their way. We should be preparing to catapult that, whoever that may be, because the other thing is, especially in hip hop, the greatest impacts are movements. And I think even in Toronto, our biggest influences, or our biggest what's the word I'm looking for? Our biggest impact in music have come from camps of people. Yes. Because if you and I are working together and you happen to break through that whatever glass ceiling, then they're gonna look for the next one. And if I'm ready, I'm right beside you or just behind you, and then they're gonna look for the next one. Yeah. And then if it's 3 or 4 of us coming through, like that old freaking Le Fleur, Le Fla, Le Scotia song, like one kicks the door down, then the rest of us run in. That's what I think we missed. And again, when Socrates was out there, he had a group of artists that he was with. Julie Black was moving, Cardinal was moving, Chaclair was moving. So if you didn't hear him on his own stuff, you would hear him on one of theirs. Yeah. That's 5 different projects.
And Chaos
for one artist.
Came from the Rascals. Without the Rascals, you don't have Chaos.
There's that. There's a monolith going on at that time. So even these different groups there's still a unity in the way that we're viewed as a city.
Stepping stone for the next guy.
Right. Yeah. And then after that, you'll have now you have the Drake, the Weeknd were coming at the same time, and then the Party Next Doors were coming at the same time. They broke through, but they splintered.
Yeah.
But if we kept that together to some degree, even just in a working relationship, pride aside, we would see a different impact overall. There would always be eyes on Toronto for who's next. And I don't think that we've had that since that.
It's been cut off.
Yeah, and that's like 20 years.
Yeah. You're right. You're
everybody's
right.
It's so splintered that you might have a clique over there. Even because I'm a big battle rap fan, and the heights of battle rap, a lot of these guys got together and their camps got together. So they didn't. It bolstered each person. So it's like So it gets to the point of, if I'm on a bill, I got booked for a bill to battle a guy. Okay, well, if you're gonna book me, pay me a little less, but you gotta book my friend too. Yeah. And we need that type of. I'm not coming without. I'm Busta Rhymes. I'm not coming without Swiftstar. I don't perform without him anymore.
Well, that happened a lot with live. That's also live performances severed a lot of that stuff too. Where, and I've turned down opening for several artists like Mad Child and a lot of guys because I don't like the 50-50 deals. Yeah, and I'm like, I don't pay to play. Yeah. And it's like, I tried to explain to his guy, and he's like, this isn't pay to play. So I said, so give me a time slot. Yeah. And he goes, oh, I can't give you a time slot. And I'm like, I know how this works. I say, you wait to see who sells the most tickets, then you order the time slot. Yeah. It's like, I'm not bringing somebody out for 20 minutes of my performance for $20. Yeah. So I can line your pockets. And too much of that is in hip hop. And it's like the big artists come through. Nothing against the big artists. You got guys from like Wu-Tang, and you got like other guys like that coming through, and they're taking advantage of the local artists. And it's not all the time them. It's the middle artists that are like swindling the other players. And now it's like you got 15 artists on one bill, and it's too much. And it's like everybody's paying 50% of their ticket sales, and so there's a disconnect too. So it's like you need more, like you said, bringing somebody up. And I'm not saying like you're missing out on, because the shows require money to run too. But it's like there's this mentality of like hustling and grinding, but you're ripping someone else.
Eat the young. It's like eating the young.
It's like,
oh, you're lower than me. I'm
going
to make money off of you.
We're not getting anywhere with this. So, but I like where it's going. There's a lot of good I'm seeing. Like what you guys are doing is amazing. And, you know, it's just like little pockets like of this, and just working together, and, you know, and stuff like this. And man, I'm so happy you came. This is great, man.
Yeah, this was good.
Thank you. Keep you too long, but
indeed,
just appreciate it. See, you got up to like 2 hours.
It's 2 hours?
Yeah, we just did that.
Wow.
All right, buddy.
All right, we're out.